Hey everyone, welcome back to the Widowed Parent Podcast Live. I'm here this morning with Brie Overton of Experience Camps. Brie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jenny. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it was great to meet you. And I said this morning, I guess it's morning my time, it's afternoon your time.
It is afternoon my time.
Tell us where you're located.
I am located in St. Louis, Missouri, and I work for Experience Camps, which is located in Connecticut. So um, typically they work an hour ahead of me and I work an hour behind.
Aha, yes. Well, I used to work with a company on East Coast hours for many years, so that I had that 3 hour difference constantly.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so in spite of the fact that you're in St. Louis and the campus headquartered in Connecticut, you actually are operating in five different places, I believe. Can you tell us where your camp,
Correct.
yeah, where your camps are?
I will. Yeah. So we are a nationwide program. We have 5 locations with 10 programs. So we have a camp in California, we have a camp in Georgia, we have a camp in Michigan, we have a camp in Pennsylvania, and also a camp in Maine.
Terrific. Okay, California's a big state, so which part of California are you guys in?
It is California Southern. So we are in San Diego,
Okay,
California. That's where our
terrific.
camp is located there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, good. Okay, so tell us who is your camp for? Who are your campers?
Of course, our campers. So, Experience Camps is a free overnight camp for kiddos who have experienced the death of a parent, a sibling, or a caregiver. So, we are supporting kids who have experienced death by loss. I'm sorry, loss by death. And we support our kids at each of those locations. We're like any other summer camp. And the one thing that sets us apart is that we have a clinical program for our kids. So, we're a clinically informed camp. All of our clinicians that are at camp work in clinical areas outside of camp. So they're social workers, they're counselors, they're therapists, they're psychologists, and all of us come together to be able to support our kids clinically, but also supporting them emotionally at camp. So at camp, they do sharing circles with their clinicians. We do one-on-ones with their clinicians. They do bereavement activities with their clinicians, all while they're also balancing having fun when they're at camp.
Ah, okay. So that's one thing I was wondering about. So, because I think somebody
Yeah,
who's never been to grief camp or heard of grief camp might wonder, like, okay, do you spend the whole time in a grief group and doing individual, and or
right.
do you do other stuff? So, what else is on the agenda?
Yeah, I mean, we do all kinds of things, and that's a great question. A lot of our kiddos and our parents are like, are they just going to be sad all week? Like, what does this entail? What will they be doing?
Yeah.
And so I always talk about how, they'll do all the other things that they'll do at camp. So we have water sports, we have zip lining, we have rock climbing, we have this thing with our camp called College League, and so we divide each of our camps into 2 college teams, which really allows our kids to think about like college, like what is this thing called college after
Mm,
graduation. And so we divide into 2 college league teams, and we have competitions throughout the week, like this college team against this college team, and it might be a good game of like tug of war, or it might be like warrior dash, like different challenges throughout the week, and we add up our points, and at the end of the week it's this college team may win or this college team may win. So there are lots and lots of fun activities that we do at camp, um, that give it that camp feel.
ah, okay. And so do you use like the local rivalries for your college teams in each of your places then, or how, like,
We we use local rivalries throughout the state.
like Michigan,
So
Michigan State, or
yeah, so we have like yeah, like Florida State, all of these different
yeah, fun.
colleges outside of like just NCAA sport, or I'm sorry, teams, but
Yeah.
also just teams at different local colleges as well that the
Mm,
kids are familiar with.
yeah.
Um, and we wear their colors. We go all out during our college league events, and our kids they have a blast, as well as
Fun.
our staff and our
Yeah.
volunteer.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a neat way to do it. So okay, so how many days or nights is the camp?
Sure. So it's a 1 week camp. Typically, our campers will arrive on like a Monday afternoon and they go home on Saturday. So they're there with us for an entire week. And yeah, they're there with us for an entire week.
Yeah, okay. And what age are the kids?
Our kids are grades fourth through 12th grade.
Okay.
at some of our camps. Some of our younger camps, our newer camps, are still growing into that fourth through 12th grade.
Mm.
But typically at our older camps or at some of our camps that have been around a little longer, we do have fourth through 12th grade. And our 11th and 12th graders are in a program called LIT. It's Leadership and Training, or Leaders in Training.
Mm.
So once you become an LIT 1 or an LIT 2, you're still a camper, but you have more responsibility at camp. And that could look like mentoring the younger campers. That might be leading one of our morning or afternoon activities.
Mm.
But it gives them some leadership while they're also at camp, still growing and learning through their own grief.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds neat. So then
Yeah.
I'm assuming you break the kids into like cabin groups or something in age groups.
Yeah, so they have bunks, and they're in bunks by grade. So we'll have a fourth grade bunk, fifth grade bunk, all the way up. So all of our campers are in cabins with other campers their age or at their grade level. And then
Mm.
each of our bunks have cabin counselors that stay with the kids throughout the day. Each bunk has a clinician. So that's how we divide the bunks up at camp.
Oh, neat. And then I think before we started recording, you mentioned that you have a separate program for boys and girls.
We do. So we have typically at our camps, we'll have two programs that are running simultaneously. So we'll have a boys program and a girls program. Um, at most camps, we'll have our meals together, but programming will be different. So the different activities that our campers are participating in will be by their camp. And so a lot of times parents say, well, I have this, my kids are coming. Will they be able to see their siblings? And they do see their siblings throughout the day. It might be one of those times at breakfast, lunch, or dinner where they see each other. They might see each other in passing, like one is going to this activity and one is going to another activity. We have kiddos that I need to go say goodnight to my brother before I go to sleep, or I want to go give my sister a hug before she goes to sleep.
Mm.
And so we make sure that those things happen too.
Mm.
We want to make sure that the kids are feeling connected when they're at camp. And if that is something that helps you feel connected and something that helps you feel supported, let's make sure that we get those things done
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that those
Great.
things happen.
Right. 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 Um, okay. I'm trying to think if I have any more questions about the camp itself. And I know you said there's no charge, and we talked about the age
Right.
groups and the is it. Oh, what
Mhm.
time of year are the camps held?
Our camps are in the summer, so typically the last week of July through the last week of August.
Mm. Okay. And in each of your locations, you have a week you offer.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Terrific. And so, is when would people reach out about potentially signing up if they're really
Yeah,
interested in next summer? Assuming, hopefully,
sure.
cross your fingers, you can do it in person next summer.
Hopefully, right?
Yeah.
Actually, applications are open right now. So we're accepting applications for our locations. And you can find the applications on our website at experiencecamps.org. Application is there. You fill out the application, it comes to our clinical team, and then we set up those intake interviews and answer those questions, like more detailed or more specific camp or questions that you may have about camp.
Hmm. Okay. Great. And speaking of right now, as we record this, Children's Grief Awareness Day is approaching in just a few days, and I think you guys have something special planned. Can
Yeah.
you tell us what you guys are doing for that?
I will. We are going to start an initiative called Tag. It's Talk About Grief. It's a national campaign to be able to create a more empathetic, grief-aware culture for each other and for our kids. We are asking people to get inspired, to listen to stories from others. We're asking people to share their grief experiences, whether that's with a friend or through different social media outlets. And then to tag others, reach out to other people that you know care, reach out to other people that you know may be grieving, and have a conversation with them. So we want to make sure that we are always talking about our grief, that we're always providing a space for our kiddos to feel comfortable talking about their grief. And sometimes that may not be talking or using words verbally. That might be drawing a picture, that might be writing a letter, that may be doing something active. But any way that we can empower our kiddos to talk about their grief is how we want to be able to support them. So we have that campaign that's rolling out, and we want to tag people. We want people to talk about grief, and we want them to be able to share that grief not only with us but with each other.
Yeah, terrific. Okay, great. So one more question here before we wrap up, and it's more of
Sure.
a, I don't know if it's a philosophical question exactly, but less
Okay.
practical and more. I'll just get right to the question. The question is,
Okay.
how can programs like your camp be helpful to kids who are grieving?
Sure. So what we know is that from our kiddos that come to camp, We know that kids don't always have a space to talk about their grief outside of camp. We know that sometimes our kids don't want to be that kid whose mom died or whose dad died or whose sibling died. And it can be really hard to share that grief. It can be really hard to talk about it. And so, one of the things that we do at camp is that we offer that safe space. We want kids to come, we want kids to feel empowered to share. We also want them to know that, like I said earlier, it's not always about talking about it, right? There may be some action that's connected to it. We want to make sure that our kids have those coping skills. We want to make sure that we are helping them at camp and giving them the skills at camp that they can take and use outside of camp. So when they're at home, having a conversation with parents or caregivers, when they're at school, being able to have conversations with maybe their teachers or their coaches or their friends. In those places outside of camp, we want kids to learn and to grow through their grief at camp. And then we want them to take that with them when they go home. And I think we do a really good job of being able to just hold that space for kids, and helping them feel safe and helping them feel empowered to really talk about their grief and really grow through their grief together.
Mm-hmm. Terrific. Great. Okay. So can you just, we'll wind up here. If you can remind us of the 5 locations that you're in and then how people can
Of
find your website.
course. Yeah, so you can find our website at experiencecamps.org. We have 5 locations. So we have a California location, which is called CalX. So you'll notice that all of our camps have X in them for experience or for X camps. So our
Mm.
CalX location, we have a camp in Georgia called Blue X. We have a camp in Pennsylvania called PenX. We have a camp in Maine. So ManX and SumX are both in Maine. And then we have our Michigan location, which is called Midwex.
All right. Terrific. Well, Bree, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Thank you, Jenny. I really appreciate your time.